this one resonated quite a bit. And these are a couple of the books she's put out. ISTE, by the way, I've talked about ISTE quite a bit, uh, has a publishing division, and it's a very influential one in education. So she wrote How to Teach AI, which is rather popular, and this is her later one, What the Tech, which goes through a number of different types of technology, including the metaverse. And are you here yet, Rochelle?
I'm here. You're saying all these kind things about me, and I didn't know whether to come on the camera or not.
Well, okay, yes.
Yeah,
Um,
no.
I-
So thanks for having me.
well, how perfect is that? Your ears are
Well,
burning. I'm talking about you.
yeah, and it's funny that you bring up that Edutopia article because I've had over the past, well, since I wrote that, and I mean, it came out in October of 2023, so a little bit more than 2 years now. But the writing of it, I think, probably was a few months prior to that, just because you send the pitch in and then you write it in the editing process and so forth. But I'm not kidding that just yesterday, I have a former student that graduated this past year that sent me a message in Facebook Messenger and said, "Look what we're reading in my class right now," and it was that article.
That's
and
very gratifying.
and
Yeah.
she said, "That was my teacher. That was my teacher." And I was like, "I don't think that's going to get you any extra credit points or anything like that." But I've seen that pop up from other people over the years, and it was very popular, which was great for me, like to have it to be helpful, especially at a time where there were so many different tools out there available. And it's like, what do we pick, especially for educators when we have ChatGPT and all these other tools to choose from? So thanks for sharing that. I always appreciate your support and kind words.
It's a pleasure because your work is really excellent and influential. So uh, I think it's a small group tonight, but I want to say to everyone, meet Dr. Rachelle Dené Poth, or to me, and I guess to you, Rochelle. I'm sure she's fine with that. She's puts on no airs. Anyhow, Rochelle. So I invited you to discuss this popular blog post. Now, I know this is popular because one of my colleagues sent me this, suggesting I read it. And when I opened the email to get to the link and then open the link, there you are again.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, so it's not like I was hunting for something from you. This
Right.
this showed up. But even before we get into this, and I know I don't have you for much more than half an hour tonight. And as you know, I always over prepare. I create these discussion notes that could take us for an hour. Doesn't matter, we'll wing it. But I want to do something different because, in this course, week after week, consistent. I don't assign a book here. I
Hmm.
go out and I curate bodies of material from the web, a lot of articles,
Hmm.
book chapters, uh, and other things. And I just thought it would be a great thing for my students here. This course is technology integration for school leaders, and we use that term in the sense of peer leadership,
Hmm.
which it's kind of wonderful, Rochelle. Again, this is again becoming a very popular thing.
Hmm.
You notice leadership is at FETC, and I'm assuming I'll see you there. The
Yeah.
future of educational technology. I guess that's in about 6 weeks or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I looked through the lineup of themes, and leadership is very strong.
Hmm.
So I thought it would be kind of cool to introduce someone who produces. these articles and books that I refer to week after, someone who's typical of that. So, what got you started on doing that? I mean, after all, you're still a classroom teacher
Mhm.
amongst all the rest of it, right?
Yeah, yeah. It was, I've always been into technology and just fascinated by it. I'm trying to think now. I think it was like 9 years ago. I had been doing things with augmented virtual reality just in general, but about 9 years ago, I was asked to teach a STEAM course, and the first 2 years of it was on coding robots and so forth. And I did coding like a long time ago, but this was a little bit different. And did that for 2 years. And then they were moving that to a younger grade, I think like the sixth grade group. And my principal had asked me what I wanted to teach. And so I named all these different topics, AI, augmented virtual reality, coding, digital citizenship was one of them. And just the list kept going on and on and on. And as things evolved, it was called What's Next in Emerging Tech. And that's actually where the What the Tech book idea came from, was from what I teach in that class. And just that was part of it. Another big part of it, and how I got into AI back in July of 2017, was because I do write articles for other publications like Edutopia, one of which is Getting Smart. And I had been blogging for a while, and that was easy, just to write what I did in my classroom today. But Getting Smart had different themes, and they put the themes out, late, early, well, mid to late summer. So usually in July, you see like, what are the themes for the upcoming year? And for January, one of them was AI. So I started to research AI, and then over the years, just kept writing more about AI and different topics based on their themes. Uh, as you said earlier, Mark, you know me by Rachelle and call me Rachelle by the Getting Smart team. I'm RDP, or the notorious RDP as they call me. So now I've been signing my emails RDP. It's a little bit quicker. But they would actually come up with some of these themes, and then I would do the research. And it's just been, like, I read about it, research it, write about it, bring it into my class. Okay, what can we do to learn about it? And so it's just been, an evolution based on the topics and the way that things are changing in the world, but also in education.
Yeah, so I mean, I get it that it's not hard for you to come up with a theme to write about
Mm.
because it comes right out of your own teaching, your own professional experience. I find it interesting that you've made writing such a part of your professional act. Were you like unsure in the beginning?
Uh, well, yeah, a little bit. And as a kid, I would always journal, and in my Spanish classroom, I would have students. We had, little journals that would writing that we would do. But then at some point, I started to read on Teach Thought was the publication, and blogs, and I was like, oh, I could do this. I could write this. I could be a blogger, and just started to write about it. And then finally, it wasn't until probably maybe June or July of 2018, and somebody had said to me, you should write a book. I said, what would I write a book about? Like, it's hard enough to think about what to write a blog about, but just dove into it. And, there's secrets behind all the writing I do, none of which involve the use of ChatGPT or the likes of it. But for about 7 years now, if not even, actually, you know what? It's a little bit longer. It's probably 9 years. I've been using the voice to text on my phone. So I'll walk and I'll talk into my phone and get some ideas down. Then I'll go back and refine them. And there is an article or a chapter in a book. So I definitely enjoy it.
Great. Well, so you enjoy it. And again, one of the themes of this course is peer leadership. And so creating content for your colleagues seems to me to be a natural thing to do as a peer leader.
Mhm.
And I mean, I remember when I had my very first article published, it was published uh, by the New York State Department of Ed. They put out a book called Possibilities. So
Okay.
I wrote about some of the things I had done, and that just felt so good and so reassuring that I was on the right path. And thanks for revealing one of your professional secrets that you don't use AI to do your writing about
Hmm.
AI, but you do use a digital tool, which is
Hmm.
basically voice to text, which gives you a rough transcription. And from that, I guess, you edit and craft
Hmm.
finished piece. Thanks for sharing that. So again, we're talking about your piece on teaching in the metaverse, and I've just pulled some quotes and things out. You say immersive online spaces can open possibilities for deep learning and exploration. And that's what we're all about in this course.
Hmm.
We're looking for more and richer student learning experiences. So I like the way you put that. Maybe you want to comment on it.
Well, it's I compare it to, and this goes back, and I had to think about when did I actually even first write about the metaverse or some of these other topics that are in here, and it was probably late 2021, early 2022, and throughout. And the reason I know that is because this book was supposed to come out before my AI book, and then we switched them. I was like, let's just, flip-flop these, but when I teach about this with my students and even to educators, because I've done a session at conferences called What the Tech, and it has all these topics in it. But I equate it that sometimes people are not comfortable participating, being seen on the screen. You don't feel as connected, or those technologies open up possibilities for you to explore something that might be like difficult to reach, or it might be a dangerous experience or dangerous environment. It's the simulation. So it's all of those different things that we can sit here and we can talk about it. You can watch a video on it. You can hear somebody else's story about their own experience with something, but it's not the same as actually being immersed in that where you feel like you're in that environment. And my students have even said that they can see, because I put them into like a metaverse type of environment using one of the different platforms. And I say that, compare how you feel when you're in a Zoom or a Teams meeting. Like you see everybody there, or you see a ceiling fan, versus now it has like the spatial sound and the person feels like they're actually talking right in your ear with or without a headset. And so you can explore on your own. You can go and dive into some of these dangerous places. You can look inside of a volcano, which normally you can't do. And so it opens up, it extends the learning. It's just another way to learn. And for some of the students that I've had, I know it has made a big difference in their retention of the content, their engagement in learning. And I mean, obviously, it's kind of fun and novel as well. So it brings a lot of different possibilities together and gives students a chance to kind of be a little bit more independent sometimes as well, depending on the age that you're working with.
Yeah, I think you made some great points there. And it's hard. It's very hard to imagine what this is
Mhm.
and what teaching in this
Mhm.
space could be like until you've done it. It's just one of those things. But
Yeah.
the word immersive really is powerful. So you also said in your post here, Rachelle, students need opportunities to learn about, explore, and create with, and we maybe we'll get to the create part,
Mhm.
emerging technology. So this is new, and
Mhm.
educators need the right resources to provide guidance. I like that. Students need opportunities to learn about this tech, but the course that I teach here,
Mhm.
we draw a sharp distinction between learning about technology and learning with technology. We're
Right.
all about learning with the technology, not about the technology, but as I put it in this little paragraph here, with the proviso that sometimes you can do both,
Mhm.
and the best way to really to teach kids about the tech is to have them use it in the context of their learning. And I don't know, do you agree with that?
I do. And that's something that I've said also is there is a difference, because if you're learning like, oh, this is what the metaverse is, this is what augmented reality is, this is how an iPad works, versus I'm using this iPad to fill in the blank, whatever the task is, is completely different. And I will give you a quick example with my students when I had them in this metaverse experience. I was using Mozilla Hubs was the platform, and it's not around anymore, but there are other similar ones to it. And I was all prepared to give them instructions of how to create and what to do, and they did not need me at all. I took them into it, and it was interesting to see how they were learning about it, but then also how they were using to create like 3D structures in that space and like put in speech bubbles and use the chat. And they figured out that if they wanted to talk to me, they had to bring their avatar and stand like right next to me, or they couldn't hear me and I couldn't hear them. So, one thing to learn about it, another thing completely to experience what learning is like in that space too. So, yeah.
Yeah, so what I hear you saying is there's something about these platforms themselves that invites exploration and
Mhm.
experimentation. It's not high risk. I mean, it's virtual,
Right.
and so you don't really need to lecture them or demo them an awful lot. Uh, there's something about the nature of the platform that invites them to discover and draw conclusions, and
Hmm.
that's a very good scenario. So, I think we've kind of outlined what the metaverse is, but I'll just briefly state that a lot of folks, I think, they think it's just like remote learning with Zoom
Hmm.
or Zoom, but it's more than that. It's it's like virtual reality, and there's that's part of it. Although most of these platforms, many of them are free,
Hmm.
you don't need headsets like with Oculus Rift. Um,
Right.
it truly is free. If you've got a connected device, you're good to
Hmm.
go.
Yeah.
Um, Augmented reality, well, it has aspects of that. It has aspects of all of this, but it is beyond that.
Hmm.
And at least that's my take on it. It's next level. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and here's another, you said different than meeting through Zoom, Google Meet, Microsoft Teams, other conferencing platforms, meeting in the metaverse creates more realistic experience. And I was wondering, well, how could that be? And I think you answered my question. While participants are in the same space in all of these. So it's
Yeah.
very collaborative. It's a group, it can be a rich group experience.
It can be, yeah. And the only other thing that I would add to that is um, like if you use it with students, it's we all make these mistakes. It's like assuming that the students know how to use the technology, if they know how to interact in that space in an appropriate way, and all of those types of norms, which is where like my digital citizenship part came in because it still flows through all of these places, but it is really interesting. There have been a lot of statistics out there about, and even in my classroom too, about the number of people who, one, don't realize they've actually been in the metaverse at some point because years ago there was a platform called Second Life. They get involved in Roblox or something like that. The other part is a high percentage feel more accepted in the metaverse for various reasons because they're represented by an avatar. They're not really being seen. They feel they can be more social. So there's a lot of like really awesome things for the metaverse and a lot of different platforms that are out there, but it definitely is different than having those meetings and those other conferencing platforms, especially when I was playing a game of Go Fish, but I was wearing my headset with three other friends, and this goes back years now, probably 5 years ago. And I'm in Pennsylvania. One was in Virginia, one was in Texas, and one was in Canada. We all were in our own homes, but we were in the metaverse in a lovely decorated room that my friend decorated. And you could actually put pictures of friends and so forth. And we're just standing there playing Go Fish and at the table and other games. And it felt like they were all three standing right next to me. And at one point, I turned my head and I felt like somebody was actually standing behind me, and there was nobody else here. And there was a conference held entirely in the metaverse. now 3 years ago. And that is unlike anything that I've ever experienced in my life. They actually had a second one too, but the first one, it was a very wild experience, but there's a lot of benefits to it as well.
Yeah, you mentioned Second Life, and my students are too young to remember the when Second Life hit, I don't know, maybe close to 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It wasn't for education specific, and some people adapted later on. It was kind of a multiplayer game platform. People spent a lot of time in there. What
Hmm.
was interesting about it is it wasn't just a place to meet because in essence you were building that place. You were creating the environment
Yeah.
that your avatar and your friends' avatars were in. And
Hmm.
I don't even know that. I mean, I like everyone else I knew, I registered for it and I used it and didn't seem that important to me. But now, this sort of thing is, well, let me put it to you this way. In researching this for tonight's discussion, I use Google and my word, there's so much on the web about teaching in the metaverse.
Hmm.
And yet, I have this feeling that I don't really know anyone who does it.
Yeah, I know.
It's a little peculiar for something that clearly, when you take a look, there's a lot of people involved,
Hmm.
but I don't run into them. So I was just wondering what your experience was, or probably because you've written about this, more people have come forward. But
Yeah,
it's,
and
yeah.
and that was because some of the research like was for the What the Tech book that has a chapter on the metaverse was done in 2020, 2020, 2021, 2022. And then of course we flip-flop. So then when I got the book back about this time last year to do edits, I had a lot of editing to do because things had changed. There was updated technology, um, different definitions, different uses and statistics and all of those different things. But I will say that I think it was this time last year. There are definitely universities that have metaversities. One is in Texas. I went to a virtual ribbon cutting ceremony for a business school in California, and they broadcast it live on YouTube. And so they had the whole physical, real, business school space on the campus in the school in California. And then they had built, reconstructed in the metaverse, whatever platform they use, because there's a lot of them out there, complete, identical representation. And every professor, person that worked, the staff had a digital twin. So watching it on YouTube, it looked just very much like you would expect the metaverse to look like, or if you play a video game, you have the characters, the avatars, but it had the building. So people were actually physically in the building in the university in California, while some people were joining in because they were students in the metaverse, in the metaversity in this case. And people like me were watching it happen, watching them do the ribbon cutting. And you could tell because like the one professor, it wasn't really him standing in the middle of the shrub, but his avatar was standing in the middle of the shrub. Or the students, as they walked into the classroom and they, moved to the desk, they naturally sat down. But then the other students, like you had to move around and everything was decorated. So it was like mind blowing to see that happen. But there are others like that. And I think I did speak to some different educators when I was working on the book who were teaching about the metaverse and some of the other topics that are covered in the book as well. And there was a prediction, now mind you, a couple of years ago that it was going to continue to increase. And I have heard of other ones popping up, not so much at the like high school level, other than experiences within a class like I did with mine, but the benefits because, well, there's lots of different benefits for it, financial reasons, accessibility reasons, and I could go on and on, but they are still out there and you just have to kind of look for them. But it was still a little bit, people kind of hesitant, kind of like years ago with AI, a little bit like holding back. Like, is this going to be a thing or not be a thing?
Yes, you got to look for it. And I did a lot of looking for it. We were talking about Second Life. This
Mhm.
I found on Facebook. This is an announcement and an invitation from the Virtual Worlds Education Consortium. I
Mhm.
never heard of it before, but apparently there's this whole group out there, and they have this Second Life Student Challenge. So people are using that. Usually when I hear about teaching in the metaverse, I think about Minecraft or Roblox, and
Mhm.
those platforms and the companies behind them have outreach programs. They're actively
Yeah.
looking uh, to enroll teachers into using them, and with some success. Because I remember one of the ISTE conferences, oh, this must have been at least 12 years ago, Rachelle.
Mm.
I I kept passing one of the hallways, and there was this huge line of teachers waiting to get into a demo and a session.
Oh yeah.
It far outweighed anything else, certainly any of my workshops. There was like 100 people
Oh jeez.
long, and so I had to go up there and see what it was they were waiting to get. It was Minecraft.
Yeah.
Had a big presence at the conference, and teachers were responding. Anyhow, so yeah, if you look, there's activity, and this is an announcement about participating in a group program, and the date they're talking about is spring 2026. This is
Hmm.
now,
Hmm.
and there's plenty more. So, okay. I mean, I asked the kind of the obligatory question, what magic happens when we meet students in the metaverse? And you had some great things to say in the blog post. I love this one. Imagine having conversations with famous historical figures who are recreated using AI. So AI is in the metaverse too. It's not either or. It's part of the whole DNA, or it can be, depending.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
and or visiting museums, art galleries, or impossible to reach place. So
Hmm.
inside of a volcano. So I think that's well said. We can offer students uh, wonderful, otherwise impossible to achieve experiences. And we can offer them beyond just simulations. We can offer them in a kind of virtual environment where
Hmm.
they can go in and cruise around and leave and go back in, bring their friends in, compare notes. It's potentially very rich. And I'm sure it may be a little early yet, but this is going to be popular. Um, so, what did I pull out here? Harvard University created a VR experience that enables students to explore the molecular structure of proteins. Well, that's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Go into a protein and poke around. And I'm watching the clock for you too, by the way.
It's all good. And I will say that I want to say that Morehouse College might have been the first one to have a metaversity and like the digital twins, and then Stanford had one about 3 years ago now, I think. But then there are different platforms that are used in schools. Well, actually, Victory XR is the one I think that Morehouse College used, and then there's one that is Prisms VR, and I know that that's being used in a lot of different schools. For like math lessons and like you're visualizing math and solving math problems and a lot of different things that are interesting too. So there are a lot of different platforms out there and schools, not as many in the United States as there are in other countries where these are kind of popping up for varying reasons because accessibility is a key one. You know, you might want to take a certain course or be enrolled in a certain university and it's either cost prohibitive or there's reasons that you can't travel there, but you can still be part of that experience. It's not exactly the same as being there with everybody in person, but you still compared to being in Zoom in that metaverse experience, you feel more connected to those people that you're learning with or learning from.
It's a yeah, good point, and there's a lot of learning curve involved because I
Mhm.
remember the first time I attended a virtual conference that seemed so peculiar, but this is just something we all do now. We
Hmm.
can't get to every conference. We go, we present, we collaborate. We even go out into to the exhibition hall floor to see what's new.
Yeah.
Uh, we, we grow accustomed to this, and it's a richer world we're working in. So
Hmm.
here's a quote I pulled from an article in Edutopia. At the bottom, I have a link for it. Teaching writing in Minecraft. Teaching writing to me is essential, even more so now than people want to to port that part of their life over to AI.
Hmm.
And AI can be a useful support tool, but at the end of the day, we want our voice and our sensibility and our understanding of how to communicate with people to be a
Hmm.
dominant element as well. So, and this is from 5 years ago,
Mm.
teaching writing using Minecraft Education Edition. So we should also point out that there's Minecraft and then there's Minecraft that's been crafted for education specifically. And many of these portal platforms do that. And
Yeah.
I like this. So Resnick is Mitch Resnick, who you and I both admire, who's the brain and spirit behind Scratch, that
Hmm.
programming language, and a lot of other wonderful things he's done up there at MIT Education. And he has this little framework, his 4 Ps: projects, peers, passion, and play. So educators, forward-thinking educators, recognize the richness in that and honor it, but it's often hard to find a way to get to it.
Hmm.
And so this person is saying, yeah, Minecraft is a very handy way to, and a lot of the work's been done for you.
Yep.
And in the book Lifelong Kindergarten, I love that term.
Hmm.
Mitch Resnick suggests that all schools should be kindergarten, play-like,
Hmm.
discovering and drawing inferences through play-like activities. So, okay, I'm gonna see how we can wrap this up because I'm gonna honor your hard out. I don't often have to do that, but yeah, so I found all sorts of stuff using Minecraft in the
Hmm.
classroom, make history come alive, focus on digital citizenship. There's a ton about student creativity, and I think where we should draw the conclusion. I bet you haven't thought about this in a while,
Oh yeah.
Rachelle. This is you were the guest star of
Yeah.
a really nice webinar here, learning in the metaverse, and so suggestions for getting started. Well, one
Yeah.
would be go find. Yeah, I think I have to link it. Go find your way to this nice webinar.
Yeah, that those series, Educator Alexander, she is a good friend of mine, but she has webinars on varying topics almost every Saturday, and she's the host, but other people just come in and present a topic. And I always joke that I would prefer to listen to her talk because she's very entertaining. But I remember having done, I think I did that one when I was at a conference on a weekend, and I had to go find a quiet room to do that. But that one is probably a couple of years older, but I was going to let me drop this into the chat here real quick. There is an organization, it's Ed3DAO, and they are phenomenal. They've been around for a while. Their co-founders are friends of mine. Dr. Mike Peck and Dr. Reedy Saraf, and just they do phenomenal work. So if you look it up, they have an organization, they have a Discord channel, they have a lot of great resources, and they are the group that had the conference fully in the metaverse that I was speaking about a little bit, well, little while ago. So if you want to check that out, you could, if you want to, go and check out that video on Educator Alexander's channel. If you wanted to learn more about it, just I kind of talked through it, what it looks like, some different platforms, um, and things to that extent.
Okay, well, if you sent me a link, I will include the link in these notes, and the notes will appear under this video in YouTube. So anyone listening to this will have access to your recommendation there. And I threw a bunch of other things in here. My students are going to be watching this later. Short video, The Metaverse, A Teacher's Guide. Um, and again, so Minecraft has its own organization to promote the use of Minecraft in education, and so does Roblox, I
Mhm.
believe. I'll try to find that and include it in the notes. So, Rochelle, thank you so much
Yeah, of course.
for engaging with us on this should be much better known subject in
No,
education, should be much better. So you're traveling tomorrow and you got a raft of things you've got to do tonight. So
always.
I'm just gonna, I'll follow up with you via email
Sounds good.
tomorrow. Again, thanks so much
Yeah,
for
thank
joining us.
you. And I did put the link in the chat for that webinar. I just grabbed it
Okay.
real quick. So, yeah, it was fun, but it goes through, it explains all the different realities, what is it, and so forth. So, if you feel like checking it out,